if you would.
Absolutely. Mr. Marquis.
I'm here.
Right. Mr. Corcoran.
Present.
And Mr. Krasansky.
Thanks, Thomas. This is a
meeting is being recorded.
Meeting of the Audit Committee of EFC. The first action is we have minutes from June 24th meeting of the Audit Committee. Just if people have taken a look at it, if there's anything that should be changed, or if someone wants to make a motion to approve.
Chairman, I've read them and I would make a motion to approve.
Okay, second?
I will second that motion.
Great, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Great. Minutes are approved. Thank you. There's a presentation by Albert on the financials of this quarter, and I'd love to hear that. I've got a few questions of my own, but take it away, Albert.
Sure. So we have our quarterly financial update. I'm going to share my screen, and for the sake of time, I'm going to go through and just skip to the highlights. If there's anything you have questions on in the interim or anything I skip over, please stop me. So can everyone see?
Not yet. There it is.
See? There it is?
Yep.
Okay. So the first part is the statement of net position, income statement, and administrative cost schedule. I'm going to move to the analysis of these, which looks at the year-over-year view. So beginning with the statement of net position, you see a decrease in cash, bonds receivable, and bonds payable. We closed our 2021B deal today, so those will all increase. We'll receive cash back from that closing that will go towards new projects and both increase our bonds receivable and bonds payable. The interest income is, as we've discussed in the past, is down year over year. There was a large decrease in interest rates and short-term rates at the beginning of the COVID crisis, and we still held some investments at the end of state fiscal year 2020 that had at higher yields that matured off within that year. So we're down slightly year over year, but it's sort of the expected course of business. The other notable item is appropriation bonds, receivable and payable. These are our PIT deals that matured off this year. Moving on to the income statement, bond financing fees. You see last year we had $210,000 that was from a Casella IFP deal that closed. This year we have not had an IFP closing yet, so those one-time fees are not there. Interest income, same story as on the accruals on the previous page. State assistance payments revenue. These are our WIA and emerging contaminants grants. So getting a lot more out the door this year, which last year being we had a pause for COVID, so that is expected. Project grant revenues, we've drawn more SMLP or Hurricane Sandy grant dollars in this year than last year. We're starting to get that that is starting to accelerate and will come to a close next year. Next, administrative costs. This is, again, probably a skewed year over year due to COVID. I'm hoping this year looks much more like state fiscal year 2019 than state fiscal year 2020. So some things are up year over year because obviously we weren't spending much money on printing last year because we weren't in the office. And also our equipment purchases, we are buying laptops to make sure that if we need to, we can have everyone everyone working from home. Next is our inventory of investments and allocation of those investments by account, and then a reconciliation of those accounts to our balance sheet. The last piece of the quarterly, the mid-year update, which compares our revised annual projections versus our actual year-to-date results through 9/30. So most of these are timing differences. For example, our administrative fees mostly come in June. Our bond financing fees we will receive from the closing today. And then other items are on sort of on pace. A few notable exceptions: the state assistance payments, expense, and revenue, which are it's neutral to our net position because it's money we expense and book revenue for as it goes out, is slightly below the target, but we expect that to accelerate with some New York City draws and other large draws. The same thing with our grant disbursement principal forgiveness. As New York City takes their Hurricane Sandy money, it will that will accelerate. So that's the quick overview of the quarterly. Any questions?
I am interested in the charts that you sent. Is that,
Yes.
can we go through that stuff? The graphs?
Sure. So that's more related to the budget and financial plan.
So should we? Okay. Well, wait. Great.
Yeah. I mean, we can certainly, the next budget financial plan is next, so we can certainly.
Okay, when we get there, I've got a few questions. Great. Cool. Okay.
All right. So any other questions on the quarterly?
I don't have any. Go ahead. Good. We good for that? I mean, again, I think you're right. It was very different year. You explained. I think we all can understand and also different year in many ways. I mean, the interest rate environment, the pandemic, the stop and go nature of everything. So, okay, cool.
Yeah, I was just going to say to that point, like it's typically we look at those delta changes from prior years to clue into and focus on, but to both of your points, that's not our indicator right now.
Yeah.
Yep. So budget and financial plan, want to do it?
Sure.
Great.
All right. So next, our proposed budget and financial plan. So again, I'll go through, stop me at any point if you have questions, but what I speak to should be in line with the information on those charts. So start with our assumptions. So the big assumption this year is infrastructure dollars. At the time of the preparation of the draft that was not final, so we incorporated those assumptions into this version, and we assumed that our allocations would be the same as we get for the clean water and drinking water revolving funds, as well as an allocation that we got for a sewer overflow and stormwater reuse fund. So we essentially took the high level numbers that were given annually and then applied them to the plan. And I think, Charlie, to your point, you absolutely see that in the charts, in the supplemental information. You see that our net position is going up significantly. And that is in large part due to the extra infrastructure dollars. So next, budgetary. There's staffing assumptions. We plan to add staff to be able to accommodate all of these extra dollars. In the budgetary risks, the COVID disclosure is still out there. While, you know, EFC has not felt a material impact, amazingly, it's still a risk, still could turn, you know, in a negative fashion. And the biggest risk is really that our municipalities would not be able to repay their obligations. But we have not seen any sign of that so far. Next is the revised 2021-2022 budget and financial plan. So I'm going to go directly to the reconciliation, which is the plan over plan comparison. So adjustments on that are bond financing fees. We are adjusting that down. We have timing of a New York City closing that's expected to be in April of next year. So it's going to kind of miss this state fiscal year. Interest income on investments down slightly from where we expected. Interest income on bonds, interest subsidy, and interest expense on bonds payable. This is a reflection of the savings from the refundings that we've done. Interest rates are significantly lower than when we originally issued a lot of these. So this is, you know, it's a good thing. It's great for our borrowers. Fringe benefits and other post-employment. These are results of our actuarial evaluations. So even though you see personal service going up, fringe is down, and that's due to a much higher than expected return on plan assets for the retirement system. So while last year, I think the projected return was lower than expected, this year it's coming in higher. So our estimate from the New York State and local retirement system is good. And then other post-employment benefits, that's the healthcare we pay in retirement. And so that's based on our employee population and then projected healthcare cost assumptions as calculated by our actuary. So I'm not going to pretend to understand healthcare inflation assumptions, but I will trust that they are quite thorough. And after spending time talking with them, I believe they are. So next, actual versus budgeted. We reviewed this in the June board audit committee meetings. I'm not going to revisit that. Then the full breakout of the 22-23 budget, and you'll see in the project grant revenues line towards the bottom. That's where you see the effect of not only the infrastructure dollars, but as we've previously discussed, there was a memo issued by the EPA for prohibiting certain costs for telecom. And so to be conservative, we did not draw anything on our capitalization grants until we were able to clear that and make sure that our recipients were not including any of those costs. So it didn't lead to a reduction in revenues, but it did lead to a big shift in our revenues from both 2021, both fiscal year 2021 and to a certain extent 2022 into 2023. So that's why that number is so high, along with the potential 400 to 500 million in infrastructure dollars that we could receive. And then the actual and projected results. So these correspond directly with the supplemental information, and it's a view of our actual 2021 and then each year of the budget and financial plan, and showing how our EFC's net position develops over those years. So you can see first corporate and then clean water admin, clean water program drinking water admin and drinking water program. And the total EFC reflects that that large increase in project grant revenues that I spoke about, and you see those absolutely reflected in the supplemental information. Next, projected debt outstanding and projected debt service payments on that, just based on projected issuances. Depending on how the infrastructure money is deployed, I would expect that this will change significantly from our projections. And then finally, are just notes relating to debt, our standard disclosures, and then other items. And as I said, the delay in drawing the 2020 and 2021 capitalization grants led to that shift in revenue that make 2020, both 2021 and 2022, the increase in net position lower than previous years, but then that is more than made up for in 2023 and out years by the extra infrastructure dollars. So that is the.
I was interested in, you know, the color graphs and things. You know,
Sure.
if you don't mind, you know, maybe I don't know, maybe we do it in the full meeting. Just, you know, from, you know, because you know the numbers so well. Obviously, it's not always so great, you know, displaying things when there are big ups and downs. You know, again, I understand that sometimes it's like, oh, gee, this is, you know, that's not a good depiction. But I'm interested in just your take on that and some things that you thought that made, you know, again, disregard that chart. Let me tell you why. But, you know, this one's an interesting one. Those kinds of comments.
Yeah. So let me, I can certainly share that.
And Albert, while you pull it up, we'd just like to acknowledge Adam Zarofsky entered the committee meeting.
Great.
Thanks, Tom.
So this is the supplemental information that was sent around with the board package. And so as I was describing, the top line is EFC's on these is EFC's overall net position. And then the bars are the year-over-year change. So you can see.
Wait, we can't see your screen, Albert, showing it. No.
Is that?
There we go.
Okay, sorry about that. So these are the charts that that Charlie was referring to. This is supplemental information that went around with the board package, and it's just a visualization of the plan itself. So on these charts, the top line represents EFC's net position, and then the bars represent the year-over-year change.
Yep.
So you can see in the 2023, we were expecting a significant increase in net position due to the shift that I described in the capitalization grants and the infrastructure dollars.
Yep.
And in corporate, we plan to generally break even. We recover some funds from the capitalization grant for this, and then we also have IFP dollars and other administration fees that go to corporate. Clean water SRF very much mirrors what I was describing with the capitalization grants. That's really the main driver.
Right.
And then administration, we reflect some dollars for infrastructure. And the drinking water program, you know, same story. You know, very low in 2021, moving back up in 2022. We're able to take more off the capitalization grants than relative to clean water. So the delay isn't quite as impactful, but the infrastructure dollars are what's reflected further out. And then drinking water administration. In 2020, we had an accounting methodology change that led to a big increase, not actual dollars flowing in, and then projecting to be about even throughout the remainder of the plan. And then the remainder is just a visualization of our revenues and expenses. And then some illustration, this was really much more impactful last year, of the changes in interest income, and showing our holdings, and then the history of the rates that we've been getting on our investments.
Okay. Thank you. No, it's good to see it that way as well.
Mhm.
You know, just who knows what the future holds, but you know, you always have to plan.
Yep. No, overall, I think it reflects that EFC remains in a strong position.
Yep. So this would be ID number 2 on the board agenda coming up, and so I think we need a motion just to approve this in committee and send it to the full board. So if anybody has, if we're done with questions, I don't know, anybody have more questions about it?
I just have a quick question, just in general, Charlie and Albert. Is there any preparation we have to have with our outside auditors regarding the infrastructure money coming in, things in the future? Is there any things we have to do now in preparation for that type of change?
So our single audit will certainly, the dollars they're auditing will certainly increase. There is no doubt about that. When they might have to do an audit on both the clean water and drinking water programs because of the size of the dollars. Typically, they pick one or the other.
Yeah.
The thresholds they use are sort of, I don't want to say they're KPMG's secret, but I'm not aware of them specifically, but I would say that that the dollar values could cross into a threshold where they would have to, the scope of their audit would increase.
Yeah, I wondered if there was a trigger based on the delta difference. So we'll find out, right?
Yep. And we'll certainly discuss that with them ahead of the 2023 audit, when we would expect to see these dollars flowing through.
And then on a different, you know, there may be other things that we don't know yet. You know, other, like you mentioned the telecom thing. I don't know the details, but there may an audit. They may be things that need to be under our, you know, discussed by us. You know, there may need to be other compliance measures taken. Who knows what the, you know, if money comes in, there may have additional strings attached. So it's another topic that could require, you know, more auditing in a way, reporting. So, okay.
Right, and that's true, Charlie. We're waiting, as I'll discuss later a little bit, on the Infrastructure Act. We're waiting for guidance from EPA, and certainly there'll be some strings attached, whatever they are, to such significant amount of dollars coming in.
Yep. Any other questions, discussions on this item? Seeing none, I'll take a motion to approve it as in committee and forward it on to the full committee as ID number 2.
I will make a motion to put before the board approval of the proposed 2022-2023 fiscal year draft budget and financial plan.
Great.
For the corporation.
Thank you. Second?
I'll second it.
Thank you. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
And so we've done that. So I'll take a motion to adjourn this audit committee and move into the full board meeting.
I'll motion.
Great.
I'll second.
Awesome. All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you. Great.
Thanks, Albert.
Good.
Thanks, everybody.
All right, we can move right into the board meeting, given the time.
Thanks, Tom. Hold on, I'm just trying to pull up my agenda. Just give me one second, please.